Hey team, so right now it is Thursday, August the 13th at 1:51 p.m. here in Central Time. And this morning when I was checking my Facebook feed, because I'm very cool, I follow the National Atmospheric and Oceanographic Administration and the Hurricane Center. I saw that a tropical depression out in the Atlantic Ocean had been upgraded to a tropical storm. So what I thought might be fun for this week's video would be to have me from like now until it's going to release Sunday afternoon sort of follow this tropical storm and show you guys the resources that I use when people ask me what's going on with a hurricane or a tropical storm. So I have borrowed my husband's iPad because my computer is stuck doing dissertation things, which I really shouldn't be annoyed about, but I want it to be able to do two things at once, and right now it just can't. But that's okay. So let's take a look at Tropical Storm Josephine. I always forget the name of the exact web address, so I usually just Google NOAA hurricane, and then the National Hurricane Center is the first thing to pop up always. So we'll click on that. One of the things that I think is great about this website is that right on the homepage, it shows you all active tropical storms, hurricanes, tropical depressions, and other weaker systems that have the potential to develop into something stronger. And it also shows you for kind of different parts of near the United States, because this is the US's National Hurricane Center. So right now we're in the Atlantic Basin, which is by far the most active hurricane basin for the US. And you can see Josephine right down there. But just for funsies, I'll show you the Eastern Pacific. So we have those X's represent systems with the possibility of becoming a tropical depression or a tropical storm. The yellow is a less than 40% chance. And then over here, the red X is a greater than 60% chance of something developing off the coast of Mexico there. So maybe something to keep an eye on, but it's not anything dangerous right now. And then we have this open red circle with not a person's name. So you have to reach tropical storm status, which is sustained wind speeds of 39 miles per hour to 74 miles per hour. So you've got to break that 39 to be considered a tropical storm and get a name. Until then, you're a tropical depression, and you get a label, but you don't get a name. So this is 10E tropical depression. And then if you looked over at the Central Pacific, which really should just be named Hawaii, we see that 10E we caught before, and another small system that has some potential of developing. So if you're an operational meteorologist, that's something that you would keep your eye on, but isn't necessarily something that we need to warn the public about. That's not where we're at. We're at, this is something for professionals to keep an eye on kind of thing. So, all right, let's jump back to the Atlantic Basin and take a look at Josephine. So this, what you're seeing right now, is what we call the cone of uncertainty. You can be pretty sure that the center of this tropical storm is going to be within the cone of uncertainty. So for reasons that probably deserve a video of its own, it is much more difficult to forecast the strength of a hurricane. So how fast are the winds going to be? How much flooding can you expect? How low will the low pressure at the center be? How much will that affect the ocean? Those things are much more difficult to predict than where will this system go. Now, beyond 3 days, the uncertainties about where is this system going to go start to get pretty big. And you can see that in this graph by the change from a solid fill to that hashed fill. So the hashed fill is where we're currently thinking this tropical storm will be 4 and 5 days from now, whereas the color fill is, or that solid fill, is looking at where it's going to be over the next 3 days. And then the yellow circle is like where it is right now. So what's great about this storm is that it looks like it's going to be pretty content to just hang out in the Atlantic Ocean, do its thing. And let's take a look at wind speed probabilities. Yeah, so these colors here represent the probability of a location experiencing tropical storm force winds. So that's that 39 to 73 miles per hour. There are a couple islands there in the Caribbean that have about a 10% chance of experiencing tropical storm force winds, but that's pretty low. So it looks like this storm is happy to just live its life out in the ocean and not really bother people, which is certainly where I like my tropical storms and hurricanes to be. So then one last thing about how to read this. You see where it has the S's, that means tropical storm. If you saw an H, that would be hurricane. If you saw an M, that would be a major hurricane, so a Cat 4 or Cat 5. But the S is tropical storm, and then the D is a tropical depression. So that's sustained wind speeds below 39 miles an hour. So it doesn't look like Josephine is going to pose much risk to human beings, which is great. But we'll still have a little fun tracking it as time goes by. And so I will check in with you guys again when this gets updated. Okay, bye for now. Hey team, so it is 10:45 p.m., still Thursday, August 13th. So this is kind of fun. So you can I'm gonna click on the thing. Okay, so we can just scroll over onto Josephine and see a snapshot of what's going on with it. So we've got maximum sustained winds of 45 miles an hour, or 40 knots. So 45 miles an hour is, this is a really weak tropical storm. Minimum central pressure is 1,005 millibars. That's not exciting. For reference, normal pressure at the surface, sort of globally averaged, is about, I think it's 1,013 millibars. This is below average, but not by a whole lot. And then let's see, it's moving west northwest at 15 knots or 17 miles an hour. So it's just kind of hanging out, doing its thing out in the middle of the ocean. And then we will click to get more details. Here's our cone of uncertainty. But it looks like the projected track is around day 3 to 4. It looks like it's now more projected to sort of just curve and head up north, way offshore. So low probability of having any negative impact on the US East Coast. The only thing that would keep is in my mind is some of these little guys, these little islands. So let's take a look at the wind speed probabilities, and then we'll take a look at the warnings as well. Yeah, we're still just getting it's like the probability of even tropical storm force winds is still pretty low. So, I mean, those guys might need to pull their uh, like patio furniture inside, but that looks like it's about it. That's about all we're forecasting for right now. And then let's just take a look at warnings and surface wind. That looks kind of fun. Um, cool. So there's a blob in the middle of the ocean with a tropical storm force warning. Um, let's hop back to the homepage. And actually, you want to see what that tropical depression is doing over in the Eastern Pacific? I kind of do. Oh my gosh, it's being so boring and just like doing nothing. Look how slow it's moving. So slow. One thing I'm going to quickly point out, notice that this tropical depression, its minimum central pressure is 1004 millibars. I think that was actually lower than Josephine. Yeah, so those are pretty close. And so remember that um, we define these categories based off of sustained wind speeds. Um, in my humble opinion, so sustained wind speeds aren't really necessarily the best indicator of like how dangerous or strong a storm is. It's really that central minimum pressure. Uh, so now, so the wind speeds are related to the central minimum pressure. The lower the minimum pressure, the higher the wind speeds in general, but it's not a straight one-to-one relationship. But it's that central pressure that tells us a lot more about flooding potential, which is the most dangerous part of a tropical cyclone. Tropical cyclone, by the way, is a general term that encompasses tropical depressions, tropical storms, and hurricanes. So I'm probably going to use that term a lot because it's a nice catch-all. And so even though Josephine has a name, and our like 10 TAC E over in the Pacific doesn't have a name, really storm-wise, they're kind of pose. Okay, I will say this: Josephine poses a slightly higher risk because it is moving generally in the direction of populated areas, whereas out in the middle of the Pacific, there's just it's just moving, and it's moving west, so it's not heading towards populated areas unless it maybe like 1 in a million shot of like hitting Hawaii, but that's not likely. Okay, so I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Cool. Have a good night.
Hey team, good morning. It is Friday, August the 14th at about 9 a.m. And it's time to check back in on Josephine. So something that's a little interesting, this little tropical disturbance up here off the coast of Virginia is in fact been upgraded from a less than 40% chance of a cyclone formation in the next 48 hours to a greater than 40% chance. So, yeah, that's, we can keep an eye on that while we're watching Josephine. At a glance, um, let's see, our tropical storm, Josephine, maximum sustained winds have dropped down to 40 miles an hour, and the minimum central pressure is 106 millibars. That's it was 105 when we looked at, excuse me, 1,005, 1,006 millibars now. It was 1,005 last night, and it's still moving along at about 17 miles an hour. So it seems to have lost a little strength overnight, which, sun goes down, less of a source of heat. Maybe that's what's going on. We'll still keep an eye on it during the day. And Yep, there we go. Okay, so it's still being forecasted to maintain that tropical storm status through 2 a.m. on Monday, and then take that sharp north, now even northeast turn. It's forecasting to make by like early Tuesday morning. Um, yeah, that's what it looks like it's gonna do. We'll check on the wind speed probabilities, see if some of those smaller Caribbean islands are in danger. Their wind speed probabilities staying right around that 10%, but it looks like there's a few more islands that are joining in that are now part of that warning. Um, so you might be wondering why I use like this stuff as opposed to, say, the Weather Channel or AccuWeather or other weather products. Um, and honestly, the reason that I use the National Weather Service's data, and specifically the National Hurricane Service when we're talking about hurricanes and tropical storms, is that uh, they spent a long time figuring out how to develop products like the one you're seeing here, or let's see, here's the arrival time of winds um, that we've got that are readable and understandable to the general public. They are also, by they I mean the National Hurricane Center, they're not incentivized financially to catastrophize an event. If you look at, say, like private weather companies, they're competing for your eyeballs, they're competing for your attention. And the more dramatic they might make something, the more likely you are to keep paying attention. And so I don't like that because you get a little bit into the boy who cried wolf. Um, and so just my personal anecdote, right, personal anecdotal experience is that private weather companies have a tendency to sort of report the worst case scenario. So they're not strictly reporting things that couldn't happen. They're just not reporting what's most likely to happen. And you start to fall into this boy who cried wolf thing. Whereas since NOAA and the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Centers are all publicly funded, right? They're not dependent on eyeballs to make money or to maintain themselves. So their whole mission is to inform the general public of what real dangers are, right? And they are very concerned with the falling into the boy who cried wolf, because we know that if you tell someone to evacuate because a hurricane's coming and then it turns out it wasn't quite as bad as we had thought it would be, right? They're less likely to listen to you about an evacuation order the next time. I mean, we should always default onto the side of caution, but you want to be careful about false positives, yes. Incorrect, so saying that a hurricane or a tornado or whatever have you is going to hit your city and then it doesn't, that would be the false positive. You really have to be careful of those, because the more of those you have, it erodes the public's trust in the forecasts. So that's my little spiel about why I get my forecasts, especially in terms of public safety things, from NOAA, National Hurricane Center, the National Weather Service. their only priority is me. And there's a lot of things like products. If you guys live in hurricane areas, you've probably seen what's called a spaghetti plot. I think it's irresponsible to show those because it takes a lot of training to know how to read them correctly. Okay, I've been rambling for like 10 minutes and I need to go back to my coffee. So I will probably see you guys this afternoon. Yeah, okay. Okay, until later. Bye, team.
Hey team, just checking in. Exciting things going on in the Atlantic Ocean right now. That little tropical disturbance we've been keeping an eye on just got upgraded to a tropical storm, and its name is Kyle. So Kyle right now is, let's see, it's off the coast of like Maryland and Delaware. And let's see, its maximum sustained wind speeds are right at that 40-mile-an-hour cutoff mark. Same thing with Josephine. So let's take a look at what Josephine's doing, and then we'll check on Kyle. This is what we wanted to see. Okay, yeah. See, now they're projecting that it's going to decrease in strength by Sunday afternoon to a tropical depression. Now, it does look like it might pass right over Bermuda, but as a weaker storm system. If you live in Bermuda, you might want to bring your patio furniture in before Wednesday. Not sure if I said this, but it's currently Friday, August the 14th. It's currently Friday, August the 14th. I can say words. So that is what Josephine is doing. Now let's jump back to the homepage and check out what Kyle is doing. Bam. Here we go. Okay. So right now forecasted to stay a tropical storm out through Monday afternoon, and just sort of take a straight shot, staying well offshore, just heading east. So this one might actually be interesting to keep following. Now this isn't, if this had been like a really strong hurricane and now was like moving in this direction, we might be concerned about it like hitting Europe. But this is a pretty weak storm because it just now made like tropical cyclones. So I'd kind of be surprised if it was able to sustain itself long enough to, you know, move across the pond. That's a phrase, right? Okay. So yeah, we'll just keeping an eye on both of these until I edit this video together and post it for you guys on Sunday. But you guys are cool. Okay, I'll check in later. Bye.
Good morning, team. So this is about 10 a.m. On Saturday, August 15th, 2020. Oh, you're getting a really good look at my kitchen. And so we're gonna check on Kyle and Josephine. Okay, so let's check on Josephine first. Here she is. Okay, so this is actually kind of interesting. Look, the minimum central pressure has actually increased a little bit, and it's low pressure that tends to drive winds. This is at 1008 millibars. And the maximum sustained winds are at 45 miles an hour, still just kind of trucking along at about 16 miles an hour. That's been pretty consistent this whole time. And then we'll take a look at her projected path. It looks like Josephine's gonna weaken to a depression about the time you guys are gonna be watching this video. Looks like the storm's just gonna head out to the open ocean and fizzle out. So that's Josephine. Sorry, shaky camera. Okay. All right. So that's Josephine. Let's go take a look at Kyle. Going in home. There's Kyle. Let's see. Yeah, look at that. All right. So Kyle is staying very far offshore and is projected, that's interesting, it's projected to stay tropical storm strength out for the next out through, like Monday. So he is kind of interesting. I'm actually more intrigued by Kyle than Josephine. And it's definitely harder for a tropical cyclone or a storm of this type to form north of 30 degrees outside of the tropics, because you need pretty darn warm ocean water to get these things going. So Kyle is intriguing to me, and I really do wonder how far east he's gonna travel. But who knows, when you're watching this, or when this video comes out Sunday afternoon, it looks like it'll still be, you know, just south of oh no, I don't know my Canadian territories. Crap. I'm gonna have to look that up. All right. I'll check in again this evening and we'll just see what's up. Okay. Bye, team. Oh, hey, team. I did not, in fact, check in with you again on Saturday night, as it is currently Sunday afternoon at 4, which is 2 hours after my videos normally release. And if you're wondering what happened, we were invaded by books, which is the best type of invasion. But it was a pretty intense invasion. So that just means that I didn't quite get everything done on the timeline that I really wanted to. And while I was dealing with the book invasion, lots of things happened to our storms, to Josephine and Kyle. We're gonna take a look now. So as you can see, Kyle is gone. Kyle is no more. I was kind of sad because he was so interesting to me, but I'm also not super surprised because real hard for a storm, especially a weak storm, to maintain its strength once you start getting over colder ocean waters up in the North Atlantic. And Josephine, notice that her symbol is different now. So she's an open circle with an X through it, which means she's a tropical depression that used to be a tropical storm. And so here she is. Winds are down to 35 miles an hour. Central pressure is barely below average. And she's even slowed down. She's only moving at like 12 knots. So let's just check on Bermuda, because we were a little worried about Bermuda's. Never mind. We don't need to worry about Bermuda at all. Remnants of Josephine dissipated at 5 p.m. AST today. So I'm assuming that's like the local time zone. So yeah, dissipated, no longer a threat. So that's kind of nice. We sort of tracked these guys from throughout their whole life cycle. And in the meantime, I'm just gonna again show you books and dogs. So I hope you guys liked this video. I certainly had fun making it. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Okay, bye.